Hi, this is a quick tutorial on experimentation. I found a few people within our guild don't know how to experiment or are having poor results with it, so I put together a quick video just to cover the basics. The most basic of all is obviously you need to be at least a 94 crafter, preferably 95, to be able to experiment. So you want to go to your trade skill prestige, you want to go down the center line, which will give you experimentation. Then you can experiment on any jewelry or armor, and you can do it at any crafting table. You don't have to do it at the crafting table where it was made. Personally, I prefer to use the stove, just because it makes less noise than other tables. It may not be the quietest, but I prefer to use the stove. So so you bring up this window, you'll select the item you want to experiment on. I've already done a couple of experiments on this one. I've not really seen anything that some people say, oh, you know, the experiments get harder the more you do. I've not seen that. It seems to be a crapshoot, to be fair. I mean, you know, sometimes you'll do the first experiment and have a hell of a time, and then, you know, you'll do the next experiment and it'll be easy. It seems to be fairly random. The next thing you want to understand is, obviously this is trade skill, but it's not like normal trade skill. You know, you don't get the 4 bars, and the buttons are a little bit different. Now, what I tried to do is I tried to punch these 3 buttons through each. There'll be basically, there's phases, and they'll be punctuated by a noise, either a success noise or a failure noise. Now, the failure noise is not where you've made a mistake. It's just, you know, it's the item's gone down in durability. You don't really have to worry about that too much. But you want to try and hit these 3 buttons for each phase that it goes through. I use phase for lack of a different word. But you've also got to use judgment, because if you've just done 4, 5, and 6, and then the icon on the next phase comes up for 6, that button will still be going through its reuse timer, and so you're going to have to wait for it to clear the reuse before you can use it. So it's then going to be inadvisable to hit that button and then 2 others. So in that case, you'll see me either just hit the 1 or 2 buttons, because the last thing that you want to do, the absolute last thing that you want to do, is risk having a button queue up and go into the next phase and be the wrong button for the one that it comes up that you have to press. Because what you want to avoid at all costs with experimentation is hitting the wrong button when it tells you that you've got to hit a button. So there's 3 experiments left on this, and I mean, you don't have to sit through all 3 if you get it straight away, but I figured 3 would be a good number to go through, just to show you all the different situations that, you know, that arise, and, you know, what I do to in those particular situations. But what you'll see me do is hit these 3 buttons almost always, unless it comes up and says, oh, you've got to hit one of these, and then I'll hit one of those and probably 2 of these. But these are the 3 buttons I use. I'm not sure there's any difference. I don't know whether these buttons are any better. The descriptions on them are, you know, relatively the same for each of the buttons, but what we're trying to do is increase the experimental progress and I find these 3 buttons work well for me. You may find a different combination that works better for you, but like I say, these 3 buttons work well for me. So okay, so we'll get going with this. I'm just going to check the email from the guy that sent this to me, see what he wants. He wants strength, DPS, and crit bonus. So we'll start with the strength. And each time you experiment, when you start off, you give it a 10% boost. That's on the base stats. So if you're using this item, for instance, which is refined, you'll see that it's the base stat of the strength is 336. So you'll see that we're only getting a plus 30 instead of a plus 33 as 10%. The reason for that is because this item has been created with refined rares, so that gives you a 10% boost on the item itself. But when you're experimenting, the 10% that you're adding to it is from the base stats, so from an unrefined item. So yeah, so you'll experiment on it once, it'll give you 10%, and then the next time you come to experiment on it, it'll give you a 5% boost, and then a 2.5% boost. You can see already that I've done 2 experiments on stamina for this item. So we'll go ahead and do strength. I'm not going to talk very much during the experimentations. I find that the less noise, the better, basically. That's why I get out of guild chat. I try to have minimal distractions around me, because anything that draws your attention away from this is going to make you mess up. Okay, so you'll see when I start off, when I click begin and click the OK button, that I realize that I'll destroy this if I don't pay attention. You'll see me hit these 3 buttons and then we'll be off. So that's what I'm talking about with the phase, that noise and that. So you see there, I'm just hitting the 1 button. It's because I'm not confident enough that I'll be able to hit the 3 buttons or more than 1 button before the next phase. So if you ever see me hitting 2 buttons or 1 button, it's just because I'm not confident that I'm not going to queue up a button into the next phase, which is the worst thing you can do. The best likelihood of doing that is that it won't ask you to click a button, but more often than not it will have a button come up and it will not be the one that you've got queued up. Okay, so that's the first of the experiments. So he wanted DPS. Give it a DPS and crit bonus. DPS and crit bonus, yeah. So same deal again, I hit those 3 buttons. It's like a freebie. So every time I'm trying to hit 3 buttons, unless I feel that there's not enough time. And you want to listen to where the phases start as well. Each button that you press will make a noise, and if you find that the noise of the button that you're pressing is too close to the start of the next phase, then on the next phase just hit 2 buttons instead of the 3, because it's just going to you're not getting into this vicious cycle where you're getting closer and closer to the start of the next phase and you end up queuing a button into the next cycle. So you'll notice that after I've pressed the 3 buttons, there's a good second and a half before the next phase starts. And if I feel that I'm getting too close, then I'll just press 2 buttons to give myself the extra time. You hear the sounds of it failing there. It's just a total crapshoot. There's nothing that you can do about it. Okay, so that's the 4th experiment on this piece, the second obviously that we've done. And the last experiment that we're going to do on it is crit bonus. So again, same deal. I'm going to kick it off, hit these 3 buttons, and then go from there. So there we are again. It's coming up with the last button that I pressed, and there's no way that there's enough reuse timer from the time between the reuse timer expiring on the button and the start of the next phase to hit more than 1 button. always err on the side of caution. Don't ever queue a button into the next cycle, because that's the worst thing you can do. Even if you do everything right, there's going to be occasions where the durability is going to be down into the red, and sometimes deep into the red. And if you've made a single error, that can be enough to have the item fail. So you want to avoid at all costs queuing up buttons into the next cycle. So there we have it, a visionary ring with some fairly decent stats on it. I hope this has been useful to you, and what I would advise you do to start with, instead of practicing on stuff that's made with rares that's going to cost you hundreds or thousands of plat to if you break, you can experiment on just the handcrafted gear. That's literally going to cost you, a few silver or a few gold. Anything that's essentially player made can be experimented on, with the exception of food. So I would start with that and see how you go. But I wish you every luck with your experimentation, and I hope this video has been useful to you. Take care.